Sports Radio.
Here comes the siren. I want to go higher. Oh, my goodness. He's going to drive. Deep left field. No doubt about it. Posey will defend. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
Oh, baby, for sure.
Cavs Sports Radio starts now.
I had a moment this past weekend on Saturday. It's early in the evening. You know, I had a busy day. It was kind of relaxing. I was like, oh, hey, Leaf game's on.
Oh.
Turn on the TV.
Yeah.
The All-Star game. Oh!
We'll make fun of it a bit later in the show.
I turned it off.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people did.
I'm not even joking. I turned my brain off at first and left it on in the background for a bit. And then I think I looked again, and it was 7-5.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all right.
Bettman hinted at some changes next year. More of a quote-unquote international flavor. So we'll see what that means.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's going to be in Florida, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not very international.
They might have some international element. Who knows? Maybe some international players against some of the best from North America. I could be making this up. I don't know. But changes could be coming.
I was so excited to watch a Leafs game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So disappointed.
They're playing right now.
They're playing right now.
Back in action.
Jake Muzzin. They finally have a defenseman back.
That's right.
Oh, thank God. One of six isn't bad.
Sandin's playing too, and I think it's his 10th game, which means they have to now
waive his first
That's
year,
right,
yeah.
the ELC.
Yeah, I mean,
it's up.
Kind of got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Right? Welcome to Cabin Sports Radio, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. My name is Lekter. The other voice you hear is Mike. And we got a lot to talk about.
We do.
There's obviously a looming dark cloud over the sports world. The NHL All-Star Game, as we just mentioned, took place. That is not the looming dark cloud, but I think you could probably pretty much figure out what that is. So without wasting any time, let's get into our recap of the week that was in sports with CSR News.
Yeah, and that dark story you sort of alluded to off the top, I'm sure most people know by now, but basketball legend Kobe Bryant was killed in a helicopter crash outside Los Angeles yesterday morning. The former Laker was one of 9 people killed in the accident near Calabasas. His 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, also one of the victims. Bryant retired from professional basketball in 2016 as a 5-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, an NBA MVP, and 2-time Olympic gold medalist. He also played in 18 All-Star games, which is the second most ever. Bryant is survived by his wife, Vanessa, and his 3 daughters, Natalia, Bianca, and Capri. So I remember texting you yesterday morning. What was your sort of initial reaction to all of this?
I think it was kind of the same as everyone's, which was, you know, it is a bit odd that we were now in this age where TMZ, you know, for all intents and purposes, a tabloid news site is the one that is consistently breaking things like this. And you sent me a text basically saying that TMZ is reporting that Kobe Bryant was killed in a helicopter crash. And I think my reaction was probably much the same as everyone else's, which is, I hope it's not true.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, TMZ is pretty accurate. Nowadays. And actually like a pretty... It just still sounds so weird to say considering where they came from, but a pretty reliable source as far as media outlets go. So when you kind of thought again about that they wouldn't put that out there unless they were pretty sure about it, because I mean you put something like anyone dying, but like a big celebrity of course dying, and the risk if you're wrong is pretty great for a media source. So for them to have even published a tweet or, you know, an update or anything like that with that kind of news, it was, probably pretty legit.
I got a I got a text from one of my friends from back home saying that Kobe had died, and not getting into our second segment too much, but of course over the weekend as well, which we'll get into, LeBron James surpassed Kobe Bryant on the all-time points list. Yeah. So I'm thinking in my head, I was like, oh, haha, like you mean his legacy has died because LeBron has surpassed him. You know, those two will forever be linked, so that's kind of where I was thinking it was going. But then, of course, you hit up Twitter, and same thing. It was that one TMZ link. They were the first to get to it. And you're right. Like, in the sports world, like TMZ Sports, they managed to get a hold of things. Like, they got to pay their photographer or whatever it is because they always seem to come up with videos that they leak first before anyone else gets it. Stories, they're pretty tapped in. Yeah. But like you said, it was a very definitive headline. It wasn't, Kobe Bryant feared dead or could be among those. It was
or just even missing.
Right.
It was
NBA legend Kobe Bryant dies in helicopter crash. So it was pretty crazy. Yeah. And then you start to see, the Globe and Mails and the ABCs. For me, and for a lot of people who follow basketball, Adrian Wojnarowski, probably the most credible journalist there is in all of basketball. He's the Ollie Williams of the NBA.
Wow.
You take his word for it, right? When you hear it.
Yeah.
That was the worst Woj bomb, as they've been sort of dubbed over the years. He was the one that broke, Kawhi leaving. That one hurt. That was in the middle of the night. I think I read that at like 11:30 or something like that.
Yeah.
Mountain time.
This one a bit of a different kind of hurt.
But the point being that when it comes from him, he always gets to it first, and it's always accurate.
Yeah.
So that was the worst Woj bomb ever, and it immediately gained traction, and then it became real, and it still really doesn't actually feel real.
Yeah.
But you could just see how he transcended beyond sports and the reactions to everyone who was affected by it.
Yeah.
It was bigger than the game of basketball, that's for sure. I kind of liked how a lot of the players responded to it. We saw a lot of 24-second shot clock violations. The Raptors and the Spurs both did that at the start of their game.
Yeah.
And then the 8-second backcourt violation, of course, both those numbers, 8 and 24, retired by the Lakers in honor of Kobe. Some guys sat out games last night, like Jason Tatum. Kyrie Irving didn't play. Gianna Antetokounmpo deleted social media. There's footage of LeBron coming off the team plane at the airport, clear, like visibly shaken, crying. He still hasn't said anything publicly, and the Lakers just postponed, I should say, their next game against the Clippers. So this is hitting people really hard, and people beyond just NBA players.
Well, and imagine receiving that news when you're on a flight or like about to board a flight. And I mean, obviously we know statistically air travel is the safest mode of travel.
Yep.
But still, I mean, that's like, someone who I assume LeBron had personal connections to Kobe Bryant, obviously, other than just playing against one another at certain points in their career. It just, and the dedications, of course, that have come in, all over Twitter, all over Facebook and Instagram. The one that got to me the most was Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah,
knowing those two, of course, they had a very what's
tumultuous.
The word for tumultuous? Yeah, that's a very good word for it. They were, best of friends at first in LA, and then kind of drove apart, became kind of like bitter rivals, but just I don't know what their relationship was like nowadays, friendship wise. I don't know if they really were in contact or spoke, but to see and just knowing that if they weren't in a good place relationship wise, that's the kind of thing that just guts you to know that you'll never have that chance to reproach a friendship that once was.
Yeah, I think they did get a chance over the years to sort of mend the fence a little bit, but there were always those sort of barbs, through the media. Even recently, I remember one from Kobe saying, if Shaq was in the gym, I'd have 7 titles by now, kind of thing. But he was more so but he still, he went on to say that Shaq is still the most dominant ever.
Yeah.
It was more kudos to him that despite he wasn't even really in the best shape throughout his career, but he still won 4 rings and was the most dominant ever. So he said it was sort of like a backhanded compliment to him, but they always kind of had that relationship. I think over the years they did mend it. They acknowledge that they're the best in their eyes anyways, 1-2 punch, certainly as far as little man, big man, that there ever was. And then there's merit to that. So it is really sad. Kind of nice moment that came out of it. You saw Kendrick Perkins, now an analyst, former NBA player and champion, reach out to Kevin Durant, who they had sort of been going back and forth in the media a little bit lately about their title runs together. Him just come out and saying, like, it's not worth it to have any beef, and just squashing everything, because you never know, right?
Yeah.
You never know if you'll get another chance to confront that, or if you'll even see that person again. So it became real for a lot of people really, really quickly. And like I said, people beyond sports, Barack Obama reaching out, Mike Tyson. The Grammys last night were at Staples Center in Los Angeles. Yeah. And meanwhile, there's hordes of Kobe fans gathering outside the building. Yeah. It goes much more beyond sports. And it's going to take a lot of time for this to settle in for people.
It's sad that it takes moments like this sometimes for people to gain perspective outside of themselves, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And the thing that guts you the most too, his daughter, right? His 13-year-old daughter. And he was just transitioning. I think that's why it hit people. I know that he's huge, obviously in North America, but in the Asian markets too, he is idolized. Him and Shaq, like everyone remembers the late 90s, early 2000s Showtime Lakers. They were the ticket. Everyone remembers watching them growing up. Yep. Most people probably have Bryant or Shaq memorabilia. They were the biggest ticket in town. So it's really sad. It'll take a long time to sink in, but he was just transitioning into that post NBA role. Like, that's why I think it hits so close to home for so many people. He was on a court 3 years ago. Yeah. And was now, through his daughter, was kind of hoping that she'd take the mantle for the Bryant family. He was a big supporter of her, huge supporter of the WNBA. So he'll certainly be missed. Elsewhere in basketball, and this again, mere hours before Bryant's death, another NBA legend, LeBron James, surpassed him on the NBA's all-time points list. The Lakers superstar scored 29 points against the 76ers on Saturday, which was enough to move him past Bryant for sole possession of third place in the all-time scoring department. Only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Karl Malone sit above James now, who still has 2 years remaining on his current contract with the Los Angeles Lakers.
I think another one of the saddest points, after you texted me yesterday about seeing the reports that Kobe Bryant had died, I immediately just Googled, Kobe Bryant, just to see what would come up, what stories were, if this was all over the place, or if it was just one or a couple media sources. And again, TMZ, pretty reliable in this day and age. But one of the first things that came up was Kobe Bryant's Twitter feed, and he had tweeted congratulations to LeBron James, I think maybe 16 hours.
That's right.
And crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
And these two will forever be linked because they're both generational talents. There are some people, that are firmly in Kobe's camp, some people firmly in LeBron's camp. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, we'll see. But obviously, clearly, both incredible basketball players and did so much off the court. But they'll always be linked, and they'll always have their own respective fans. But I mean, at this point, LeBron's still going, and that's why it's crazy. We were talking about, last week with Ovechkin, and some scoring records that are untouchable and some that aren't. Yeah. Kobe scored 33,000 some odd in his career, so LeBron officially passed him now with still a lot of gas in the tank, which is pretty crazy. Oh yeah. 2 years remaining on his contract. I mean, someone who's averaged 27 points over the course of his career, I guess you could call this a down year because he's averaging 25, but he's still leading the entire association in assists. So
only 25.
Right. So now he's doing other things. Jeez. So if you apply like a really modest, like 20 points per game over, they're going to have a deep playoff run this year. Yeah. Or at least they're hoping they do. But even if, you factor in games missed and then say he plays 3/4 of the games next year and beyond, and you even bring that total down to 20 per game, he's still in the conversation. Yeah. Like he could, a mark that maybe a lot of people thought was untouchable is pretty realistic.
And these 2 years left on LeBron's contract, like that's not going to be it for LeBron. He's going to play for at least another 2-3 seasons, probably more beyond that. Yeah. Assuming he's healthy.
Just turned 35, and he's playing
And he moves like a 25-year-old.
At as high a level as we've ever seen. We haven't seen this out of a 35-year-old before. Maybe we've seen it out of people in their 17th season, which he's also in because he came into the league so much earlier. But he's, for someone at that age, it's pretty crazy. And when you mentioned the tweet from Kobe, and that, of course, will be the last tweet from him on his Twitter account. Those two respected each other. They had mutual respect. It was their fans that, it has to be this guy over this guy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, LeBron and Kobe were pretty cool with each other.
Those two get it.
Maybe they'll, there might have been some fun goings back and forth and whatnot. But the day he surpassed him, one day before his death, LeBron was wearing Mamba shoes, and he had 24-8 Mamba written on it because he figured that was the game that he was going to pass him. And then Kobe tweeted that night and ended up being his last tweet. So they were able to appreciate one another and the greatness that they displayed continually. Switching gears to your favorite All-Star game.
Oh, I've been waiting.
I know. The NHL's Pacific Division has earned bragging rights after winning this weekend's All-Star game in St. Louis. The club beat their Atlantic Division counterparts 5-4 in yesterday's final. Even though his team came up short, Bruins forward and Atlantic captain David Pastrnak was named MVP after recording a combined 6 points in yesterday's 2 games. I know you love this game.
I'm not going to talk trash about the NHL All-Star Game. We did that last year.
Yeah.
I kind of felt bad about it afterwards because I had a moment where, and I think some people are still kind of having this moment where, and I've seen just comments on different stories about the All-Star Game, and it's just getting trashed left and right. Like even most of the new additions they made to the skills competition, the shoot the lights out thing.
That's right.
And we're like, okay. Like Brett Hull apparently almost fell from a platform.
They were on an elevated ledge. Yeah,
that's
right.
And it's just, and I appreciate the effort. I really, really do.
Yeah.
It's just there's no way that you can make this game exciting for anyone but the kids.
Right.
And even the kids, I wonder about, I think it's exciting that they get to see all their favorite players all, grouped in and playing in a high skill, that's the focus is trying to make cool moves. And that's all great. It's just, I don't think it's ever going to be what it was. I mean, even the 90s, I think everyone looked forward to the All-Star game.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily just, it was ultimately for kids, but it wasn't something that kids look forward to and everyone else kind of rolled their eyes. And that's what it is now.
Yeah. I also remember...
I just said I wasn't going to trash the All-Star game, and here I am.
I do remember both of us doing this last year, too, but I think we must have both separately watched more than we cared to admit to last year, because I definitely feel like I watched more last year, because I think we came back on the... I don't know if we apologized, but we definitely came back and said, I like the format of the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Maybe not so. The other festivities, I can sort of take it or leave it. But I do kind of like the idea you take the best from each division. You have them square off against their conference counterpart.
Yeah.
So you got the Atlantic taking on the Metro, and then the Pacific taking on the Central, and then have one game playoff in the finals afterward. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
And it made for some pretty intriguing stories, right? When you've got as we'll get to later.
And I guess the third game I heard was actually pretty exciting. They were going pretty hard for the win. The first two, it was not really watching hockey.
No.
I did have some thoughts on it, though, and I don't know if we got into this last year about potential ways to make the All-Star game more exciting. And I have heard people, obviously the MLB All-Star game is, I think, where it's at. I think that and the NBA All-Star competition, they've really got it down. Yeah. And it might just be the nature of the sports that make an All-Star game more of a viable thing.
Right.
Like it's still like a good product to watch rather than just a little weekend break from the season. Yeah. What I was actually thinking is maybe they should consider adopting the NFL's Pro Bowl method.
Okay.
That being that now, obviously, for the Pro Bowl, the criticism is that you don't have any of the players that are competing in the actual Super Bowl playing, which I think you could get by in the NHL in that you still have your all-star teams set. And that can include, You do it at the end of the season, in between the conference finals and the Stanley Cup finals. Same as the Pro Bowl, in between the NFC and AFC conference championships and the Super Bowl. You do it the weekend in between.
Yeah.
This could be like something that leads up to the Stanley Cup and kind of ramps up excitement for it. And then you've got players that have been off since early April.
Some of them, yeah.
And if they've had injuries from the end of the season, they've had time to recover. Mm-hmm. They, in theory, have no reason to forego the All-Star game because they have a whole offseason after that to, do whatever they want. So you go, you play in the All-Star game, you make it exciting, you make it a celebration leading up to the Stanley Cup Finals, and any All-Stars, and then you don't have this mid-season All-Star thing. You take the whole course of the regular season.
Right.
I don't necessarily know that you factor the playoffs into it, but you take the course of the entire regular season rather than about half of it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it would make for there would just be more reason for players to actually go hard.
Yeah.
Again, you got all-stars. So no, it's not, you're not in a situation where anyone's playing for a contract, which I think you always see stories about the AHL All-Star game and how exciting that was. And it's like, well, yeah, these guys are trying to impress someone.
Right. Like there's jobs on the line here. There's money.
They got rungs on the ladder to climb still.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if that would necessarily make it any more watchable, but I feel like it would be something different. And despite the efforts that they are putting in each year to change something and make it more exciting, I don't know that they necessarily hit the mark. And this is just kind of a thought I had while I was sitting there being disappointed that the Leafs game wasn't on.
That's right. I guess, well, that kind of got me thinking. I guess Ovechkin's going to he got suspended, right? For one game because he didn't.
Suspended.
Got to be serving that either tonight or tomorrow. I'm not sure when the Capitals play next.
I think Dylan Larkin. Did he actually end up going?
Oh,
he was talking about not
funny.
going either.
Yeah.
And then Brian Burke got really mad.
He got really upset with him. You don't disrespect the game. And this isn't, someone who's got a lot of All-Star appearances to his credit. Yeah. And he's turning them down. Was that his first? I don't even know.
Yeah, it might have been his first or second.
I don't really want to.
Yeah, like Dylan Larkin is, without question, the Detroit Red Wings' best player, but still a young star, all things considered. And I kind of agreed with Berkey's point that it's like, someone like Alex Ovechkin, he's been to countless All-Star games. Right. He's basically an All-Star every year. He's 34 years old. Yeah. That guy has earned, the right to take one off.
Right. It almost became a running joke, back 8 seasons ago or that type of thing when whenever the All-Star weekend was approaching, I was like, you're just waiting for that injury report for Sidney Crosby.
Yeah.
Why is he sitting out now?
Yeah.
Because they need to justify it, and he's going to get a nice, week and a half off, and he'll come back fresh.
Yeah.
And we kind of alluded to it at the front, too, that apparently Bettman is open to ways that they can, change the All-Star game. And he did hint at, like I said off the top, some international elements. So because we saw, and we'll get to it in a bit, there was a 3-on-3 women's Team Canada versus Team USA.
Right.
That was an element they had. So maybe that's what they're thinking of. But the fact that they're still trying to tweak this game and this weekend, they know they don't have it right just yet. Yeah. And I know that, the NBA, they have the dunk contest. They have the three-point contest. Those are staples. They know they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You can tweak around with the other stuff. People don't care that much. They want to see those two.
Yeah.
MLB, they want to see guys hit balls out of the park.
Yeah.
You can play around with the other stuff. They want that. The NHL, it doesn't have its defining, competition.
It's still searching, yeah.
And the hardest shot's cool.
Yeah.
The fastest skater's cool.
And when they introduced the skills competition, that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like, people were super excited about that.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun because it was something new, it was something novel, and all credit to them for trying something new, and it worked out then. Maybe it's just a kind of a situation where it's kind of run its course and it's not novel anymore, so they got to figure out something else to do.
We'll leave that in the extremely capable hands of Mr. Gary Bettman.
Who is not dead.
Who is not dead. As you learned, was that last week?
That was last
week. He's still with us. Just wrapping up the All-Star game, other winners from All-Star Weekend include Islanders forward Matthew Barzal, who finally dethroned Connor McDavid. I don't know if you saw that.
I did,
as the league's fastest skater. Meanwhile, Jordan Binnington edged Andrei Vasilevsky in the Save Streak Challenge. Hurricanes defenseman Jacob Slavin won the accuracy shooting contest. Canadiens defenseman Shea Weber claimed the hardest shot contest. and Blackhawks forward Patrick Kane needed overtime to beat Toronto's Mitch Marner in the Shooting Stars competition.
I don't know if you saw preceding the All-Star game, but Connor McDavid had a whole documentary worth of excuses as to why he lost the fastest skater competition.
Oh, wow, really?
They did actually a Sportsnet put together a really I was kind of chirping it beforehand, a documentary about basically his ACL injury.
Okay.
And the road to recovery and all the rehab he had to go through, because it was a pretty bad injury.
Yeah.
And when it's one of the highest profile stars in the world of sports, not just hockey. It was a pretty big deal. And so they talked about with some of the rehab specialists.
Yeah.
And basically, how he's just like made a remarkable full recovery, but not full enough to be the fastest skater in the league anymore.
That's right. And you really hope, electing to not go with the rehab that he went with. You really hope that that's one of those injuries that doesn't sort of keep nagging and creep up on you.
Doesn't seem to be affecting him so far. But.
No, as the league's leading scorer through the unofficial halfway point of the season. So I saw this on my timeline this weekend, too. I don't know if you did. I had to Google just now. He's not even an NHL player. Did you see that Ontario Reigns, AHL, I guess, I don't know, did they have their All-Star weekend this weekend as well?
I think so, yeah.
Someone shot 109 mile per hour slap shot.
Yeah.
Martin Ferk, is it Ferk? FRK?
Yeah. Sure.
I just saw it on my timeline. I was like, this guy's an NHLer? No. I got my All-Star games wrong.
And we were talking about that a bit this morning, actually, and
he beat Zdeno.
He goes full speed up to it, right?
Okay.
Usually in the hardest shot, they take a few strides, wind up and hit it as hard as they can. This guy, I guess, just was bolting at the puck. And I mean, in theory, you should shoot it harder if you're approaching the puck faster, right? And that made me think, well, maybe if they want a true hardest shot competition, it should just be a standing slap shot.
Right.
Like, you won't get those sexy, Ally Lafredi numbers.
Yeah.
And, Zdeno Chara on that. But if what we're going for is pure numbers.
Yeah,
well, there you go. Maybe a standing slap shot's the way to go.
I saw another tweet. Maybe something else for Gary to consider. Hardest one-timer.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. That'd be tough.
Or accuracy one-timer.
Accuracy one-timer. That'd be even cooler. One other thing we should note, Team Canada edged Team USA 2-1 in the women's 3-on-3.
Go Canada.
That's right. Let's switch gears to tennis. Canada's Milos Raonic will take on Novak Djokovic of Serbia in a quarterfinal matchup at the Australian Open tomorrow. Raonic entered the major tournament as the 32nd seed and is in for a tough draw against the second-ranked Djokovic. Perennial contenders Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal are also still in the mix and will compete in quarterfinal matchups of their own tonight and tomorrow, respectively. Raonic is winless in 9 career games against Djokovic, who's also the defending Australian Open champion.
Can I be brutally honest?
That's why we're here.
I think it's going to be 10.
Yeah. Hey, this is great, right? The last Canadian standing. This...
anything could happen.
Yeah. So was it Cilic? I think was his last opponent. Who Raonic? He hasn't lost a match yet.
Yeah.
So he's off to a really good start through 4 rounds at the Australian Open, looking really good. A lot of people are saying he's playing the best tennis of his career right now.
I mean, we're cheering for him for sure.
These 3 are always there, right?
Yeah. Right.
No matter what side of the draw you end up on, how are these 3 always there? But yeah, like you said, it's gonna take a lot from him. His serve, I think, is what it comes down to. He's a big guy, 6'5", 220. Everyone knows that's what it's going to come down to. If the ace is going tomorrow, then maybe he stands a chance.
Yeah.
But
and maybe Djokovic turns his ankle. You never know.
Right. You never know.
Could happen.
But as far as Canadians go, he is further than anyone. Probably the last great tennis story since, of course, the summer.
Go Milos.
With Bianca.
Yeah.
And finally, some late CFL news from this afternoon. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers have agreed to terms with Zach Collaros on a 2-year extension. The 31-year-old pivot returns to Winnipeg, where he helped the Blue Bombers franchise end a 28-year Grey Cup drought this past November after a late-season trade with the Toronto Argonauts. The signing all but ensures that Matt Nichols, the Bombers' starting quarterback since the 2015 season, will likely be looking elsewhere for a job when CFL free agency opens on February 11th. Your thoughts?
It's tough. I mean, from the time he was handed the reins to be the Bombers' starting quarterback, I was firmly in Matt Nichols' corner.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that he was a fighter. He was a perennial underdog, an undersized guy, not a huge arm, but got the job done. He liked to joke himself that he was a game manager because that was often the title that was put on him as a guy who couldn't necessarily win games himself by making big plays with his arm or legs, but he wasn't going to lose you a game.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bombers have been a legit franchise ever since then. Since he took over midway through the 2015 season, the Bombers have been one of the best teams in the CFL. And you put Matt Nichols' record all together, it's really hard to argue with. But the fact of the matter is, Zach Collaros won the Grey Cup.
He came in there.
And I said this when the Bombers won the Grey Cup. I said the only person I feel bad for is Matt Nichols.
Yeah.
Because he has been such a rock for this team for, over three seasons now, like bits of 4 and 5 seasons. And he's still got that kind of stigma, that cloud hanging over him as a guy who is good. He's good enough. But is he good enough to win you the big game?
Yeah.
He still hasn't answered that question. And, I think that's kind of what it came down to.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Collaros got it done. There are still question marks around Matt Nichols. You're probably going to pay in the same neighborhood for either of those two guys. Mm-hmm. And the Bombers, I think, feel like they have a solid enough offensive line that they don't have to worry too much about Zach Collaros' potential injuries. Because, of course, there's the concussion history.
Yep.
You can't mess around with that. But they've made their move. So now I guess you wait and see what happens with Strevler the Leveler in his NFL workouts.
I was going to ask you, when free agency does open on February 11th now, what do you envision the rest of free agency will look like for the defending Grey Cup champs now?
I think they're in a pretty good spot. There are some big names that they would like to lock down. Again, if Chris Strevler decides that the workouts that he's done for NFL teams, if there's nothing particularly fruitful that him and his agent think are going to come out of that, I have no doubt Winnipeg will be his first stop on his route back to Canada. Willie Jefferson, last season's defensive most outstanding player. He was obviously a monster for the Bombers all season long. He's doing a couple NFL workouts now, and I think he did one for the Miami Dolphins that him and his agent both felt very strongly about. So I have a feeling he may find employment south of the border. Same situation, though. It seems like he was on really good terms with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers coaching and management staff. So if that doesn't happen to work out, I would be shocked to see Willie Jefferson not returning to Winnipeg. So if those two things pan out, and then you make a couple depth signings here, I think they're in really good shape for the 2020 season. So that'll be really interesting. And I mean, as far as the quarterback thing goes, I would love to see Matt Nichols return. I didn't necessarily disagree with exploring the Zach Collaros option and seeing where his head was at. Obviously, they have agreed to terms now, so it's unlikely that we'll see Matt Nichols return to Winnipeg. Right. But I would be more than happy to see him come back. But my guess is that he will be headed to Toronto because the Argos... They got nobody.
They could use an arm.
They could use an arm. All right, so that will do it for Cabin Sports Radio News. A recap of the past week that was in the world of sports. We will be back to talk some Superb Owl, which is coming up.
Yeah, the big game.
The big game.
You're listening to Cabin Sports Radio, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward.
Cabin Sports Radio is brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. Check out sportnorth.com for everything with sport in the North. Go figure. Including the 2020 Arctic Winter Games in Whitehorse, Yukon. Less than 8 weeks away, and Team NT is beginning to take shape with the second wave of territorial trials taking place this past weekend. Teams from the first wave of trials in December have been selected, and you can find those results at sportnorth.com, and the results of the second wave should be coming shortly. So keep checking out sportnorth.com for more updates and details on that. All right, right now we turn to the big game, the 54th edition of the big game.
The big game.
And making his long-awaited, long overdue Cabin Radio debut, friend of the cabin, regular listener to Mornings at the Cabin, regular contributor to Mornings at the Cabin, Jason Melanson. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you on the air finally.
Very good.
Man, that silky smooth voice.
Yeah, it's the face for radio as well. So
It's been a long time, my friend. It's good to have you on the show. Obviously, the superb owl. We got to pronounce it weirdly to, make sure there's no copyright infringement sort of thing. I'll thank you to do the same.
Yep.
Or just call it the big game.
The big game. That's
Either
all
or.
about it.
Big game number 54.
Number 54.
In Miami this Sunday, the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. You excited?
Very excited. This is it's going to be a nice time to watch a really good football game and not get stressed out.
You get to actually relax
I get to
and
relax,
watch a game for
sit
once.
back and actually enjoy some friends coming over. So it'll be really good.
For those who don't know, Jason is a huge New England Patriots fan. Probably the biggest one I know, although I feel like every Patriots fan I ever meet is probably the biggest Patriots fan I've ever met.
Well, with 2 decades of domination in the league, being behind every Patriots fan, it's a nice feeling.
All right. Calm down.
Are you still going to host a Super Bowl, a superb owl
There you go.
get
There you
together?
go. Very
Yes,
nice.
the big game Super
big-
Bowl party is happening.
Okay, so very interesting game. I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. 49ers, Chiefs.
Never met before.
Never met
in
before.
the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They haven't played. They didn't play in the 2019 calendar year, so a little bit of unfamiliarity going in. But this will be the 6th appearance for the 49ers, 5-1 all time. So that would move them into a tie with Jason's squad here, the New England Patriots, if they come out on top. And then I think it's the Chiefs going for their 2nd ever. But this is their first appearance in 50 years. You have to go all the way back to 1970, I think, when they beat the Vikings.
Oh, wow.
And it was in 2013. That was the last time the 49ers were in the big dance, but they lost to Baltimore. Their last win, you have to go all the way back to 1994. So some streaks are going to be broken this coming Sunday. What are you looking for, Jason, in terms of what decides this game, do you think?
I actually think it's going to come down to defense. I think this year with these 2 teams playing off, it's whoever can stop. Well, if the 49ers can stop Mahomes, they're going to have it.
Yeah.
I think Mahomes has a lot more weapons, but the 49ers defense is really good this year. I think it's the number 1 defense of the 49ers this year, and Kansas City is the number 1 offense. So
Nice.
it's going to be a good battle. If they can contain Mahomes, then I think they have a really, really good shot.
It's going to be an interesting matchup, and like the 2013 last time San Francisco was in the Super Bowl, of course, Colin Kaepernick was the starting quarterback for the 49ers the year that the lights went out. And we had to wait, like half an hour after halftime for the lights to come back on. And I think
changed the game. That changed the momentum in the game. And
San Fran kind of woke up after that and almost made a huge comeback.
Yep.
Obviously a very different San Francisco 49ers team this year, but you could argue that Mahomes kind of has a similar skill set to what Colin Kaepernick did back then. And it's a guy that I don't know if you can really game plan for a guy like Patrick Mahomes.
No, I think the best is kind of follow up like the Titans did against the Ravens. Keep him in the pocket. Don't let him beat you with his legs. Make him beat you with his arms. His arm is still really good, and with all the weapons he has, I mean, Tyreek Hill can just run straight up the field, and Mahomes can hit him 50 yards out, and that's a touchdown every time, right? So it's going to be tough for them, but the secondary of the 49ers is one of the best in the league, and I think they're going to stop them all. Let Mahomes throw to Kelsey.
Yeah.
Let them get the 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards, and just stop the big plays, and I think they're going to do it. I mean, you have Mini Brady, as I like to call him, Jimmy G. He's throwing for the 49ers, and he doesn't make errors. He's not going to lose you a game. He's not going to give you the big plays, but with their running back and offensive line, they're going to be tough to stop as well. So, but 49ers have to go up and score touchdowns.
I think one of the most compelling stories in all of sports. I love a great offense against a great defense.
Yeah.
I think it was the first Super Bowl after I moved here. It would have been the Broncos versus the Seahawks
Okay.
So that I think that was the number one offense versus the number one defense at the time. And the ultimate question of what's going to break. So the Broncos won that year, I believe.
That was Manning's last win?
I think so. Yeah.
Did the Broncos win that game? I thought the Seahawks beat the Broncos I thought that was their Super Bowl, their one Super Bowl victory.
You know what? It was
and then they lost to, of course, your Patriots on the
so maybe that's
Malcolm
where
Butler interception. Yeah.
That's where, which is featured in our intro, of course. Put that in there for Jason. I think it was a annihilation for whichever side ended up winning. I'm drawing a blank right now, but I'm reminded when it comes down to a good offense that last, it would have been was that the divisional round when the Chiefs absolutely demolished the Texans.
Okay,
that was scary.
Yeah.
After going down, what was it, 24-3 or something like that? It might have been
24.
Might have been
24
nothing.
Yeah. And then you come out of half up 28-24, but everyone knew that game was over at that point. Go on to win 51-31. Was it like 8 straight drives or something like that? I think it was an NFL record. So that's some high octane offense. That scares me. I think right now the Chiefs are very slightly favored, but the 49ers as a very dangerous underdog. This strikes me as a bit of a coin toss, but maybe we'll get to it later. One thing we also like to do is offer really bad predictions. Our track record is not good.
Yeah, they're good predictions. Yeah. They just don't come out in our favor ever, it seems.
You want to offer one up later, I'm sure. We always
absolutely.
do that. Okay, all right, we'll get to that.
I'm glad you brought up that Broncos-Seahawks Super Bowl, though, because one name that is familiar from that Super Bowl is Richard Sherman, who,
best
of course,
corner in the game.
Plays corner for the San Francisco 49ers, still an elite defender. And I thought it was interesting after the conference finals. He was quoted as saying he had some... he often has things to say. And he was basically going off saying that nobody gives him credit. That anytime he makes a good play, it's because he was fortunate to be there. And he's like, how come I just keep making these big plays then? Am I just the luckiest person in the world? I love Richard Sherman, man. I would honestly love to see him get another Super Bowl because I want to see what he's going to say. And maybe he won't say anything at all. Maybe he'll just be totally humble and own it, but
he'll definitely say something. Win or lose, he will say something.
3 interceptions, Richard Sherman against Patrick Mahomes. There's my prediction. My awful, awful prediction.
So I'm going to correct the egregious error I made earlier. 2014, the Seahawks trounced the Broncos 43-8.
Yeah.
But we were sort of on the right line because Peyton Manning did get his last big game victory in 2016
Very nice.
When the Broncos defeated the Panthers.
Yes.
24-10. So that was his last title.
Yeah.
2014, not so good if you're a Peyton Manning fan. The Seahawks crushed him.
All right.
Defense won that one.
Yeah. All right. Predictions, gentlemen. I have made my prediction. 3 interceptions, Richard Sherman. And I will say, why not? San Francisco 49ers. 27-24 on a missed last-second field goal.
Wow.
That's a narrative for you.
That's going.
Jason, what do you think?
I'm going bold prediction, 6+ sacks for the 49ers on Mahomes. But I'm also going a tight game. I'm going 21-17 for the 49ers.
Okay, so a snooze fest. All right. All right, Mike, what do you got?
I want to be a contrarian here just to go with the Chiefs. Yeah, I'll go with the Chiefs.
Okay.
That high-octane offense.
Shooting the lights out?
I don't think so.
54-48?
They're not putting up 51.
No.
Let's go modest 31.
Okay.
24. 31-24.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so there we go. You have our awful predictions. Yep. They are on the record on Cabin Sports Radio. We'll find out next week just how far off we all were. But Jason, of course, the only reason we brought you in today is because the New England Patriots are not a part of the big game this year. But what do you think heading into this offseason? It is probably the most intriguing, is that the word? Unsure offseason?
I would say very unsure. Like all the quarterbacks that don't have jobs technically next year. There's Breeze, there's Rivers, there's Brady. There's, there's still Colin Kaepernick, which could probably start on half the teams in the league with skill alone. It's going to be very, very intriguing. I think Brady, he's been dominating the news everywhere as I read. Mm-hmm. He's either going to stay a Patriot.
Do you think he'll go anywhere else?
I think he's going to go to L.A.
Really?
I actually think that he's going to go to L.A. He's going to become a Charger before he signs back on with the Patriots.
Oh, go to
yeah.
Are they not going to be San Diego next?
No, they're L.A. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they moved,
So
and then the Raiders
man.
moved to Las Vegas. There's ties with him going to Vegas as well to sell tickets, but Carr still has, I believe, 2 more years on his contract. So that's not the. I don't understand that move if that was to happen. But I see Brady going to L.A. with that high power of offense. They still need to fill in the offensive lines, but they have way more weapons than what the Patriots are going to have next year.
Yeah.
And, you know.
So what do you think the outlook is like for 2020 for your New England Patriots?
If Brady leaves, I am actually hoping that they go 0-16. There is one hell of a quarterback coming up out of college.
There you go.
I can't remember his name, so.
Okay. Well, may as well tank. Why not?
Yep.
If you're not going to win the Super Bowl every year, you may as well get the best draft choice you can get. Okay. Well, I never thought it would come to this, my friend. I thought it would be all fruit and desserts for you for years to come as a Patriots fan.
It still might. If Belichick's there, you never know what's going to happen.
Very
right?
true.
Very true.
That is very true. Well, great to have you on the show to talk a little Super Bowl. I'm thinking if the invite is still there, might come over, watch the game with you. Again, Patriots are not involved, so I think I can stomach it.
You'll be in a good mood.
Yes, I will actually be talking to people.
Very good.
Not just sitting on the couch.
I love to see you relax, my friend. All right.
Ask Vivian about me with the Atlanta game. So that's all you have to ask.
All right, will do. There you go. Super Bowl predictions on record. Doom and gloom for the Patriots in the future. All is well here on Cabin Sports Radio.
Cabin Sports Radio.
Cabin Sports Radio brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward. One last segment to go. Of course, we led off the top of the show talking about the tragic news that came out, broke yesterday morning, that Kobe Bryant and his daughter and several other passengers had been killed in a helicopter crash early yesterday morning. And so, of course, we wanted to put together a little tribute to Kobe. And, of course, Mike, being a huge Toronto Raptors fan, Kobe Bryant had the biggest night of his career, aside from his championships, against the Toronto Raptors. What was it, 2006?
2006.
81 points he put up. Mike, what do you remember from that game?
I didn't watch the game live. I would have been, I think, in grade 10 if you go back to 2006. But this is when I was a fantasy manager, of course.
Yes, of course.
And I checked up on the next morning, and I just saw in the box score 81. I was like, it's broken. Like, there's no way that is accurate.
They must mean 18.
I don't even know if they had fantasy points then. It's not like you can combine everything and do points. I don't even know. I just remember looking in the column for points. I'm assuming I didn't have them. I would have been over the moon if I did. And, of course, I knew that I don't know why I wouldn't have watched it. Why wouldn't I have watched the Lakers play the Raptors?
Yeah.
That's when the Raptors...
you're in high school. You're probably busy studying for exams or something.
That's it.
So we put together a little piece about that game, going over the course of the game, which it's really fun to listen to because, little fun fact about that, the Lakers actually had an awful start to the game.
Yeah.
Through the first half and like midway through the third, they were down by like 18, 19 points, and you can hear it in the commentators' voices as you move along clip by clip.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Kobe Bryant just took over.
Yeah.
And that was it. Basically won the game by himself. So we will talk to you again next week here on Cabin Sports Radio and leave you with a little tribute to the life and legend of Kobe Bryant.
Devin George guns it to Min, little backdoor. Kobe scores on the slam.
He's at the line with under a minute to go here in the half, and the Lakers in desperate need of some stops.
Well, we can always go to the side story when the Lakers are down by 14. That's what, now 61 in a row? 62.
That's a nice string. That really is a nice string. And Lamar has to get going. All of the Lakers have to get going offensively. Well, I talked about the first 5 minutes where the Lakers are not winning that, and they've fallen behind even further.
Well, Kobe's got his stroke. Now to Bryant.
Well, they're giving him the ball to see if he can add to it.
Yes, he does. 59%. That's what Toronto's shooting right now.
That tells you what the Lakers are doing defensively.
Kobe again. three-pointer's got 38 points. The turn of the calendar. Here's Bosch. Here's a shot, no good, and up the ladder goes Devin George, now to Kobe. Still 6.5 to play in the third. He pulls up for a three, yes! Here's Kobe, trying to move around Mo Pete, trying to put him up. Finally shoots, counted in the foul! 4:53 remaining third quarter. I'm Bill McDonald in for Joel Myers. Here's Kobe again, yes sir!
Back to a 6-point margin here.
Kobe all the way, reverse layup is good. Knocked away by Kobe. Great hustle by Kobe. He's going to score. Slam dunk, Lakers lead. Oh, great pass. Kobe alone, slam dunk. And the guy every single night if you're Kobe Bryant.
I mean, you know the defenses are all geared for you, but he's so talented. I mean, even though the defense is geared, he's so good off the dribble. He handles the ball with both hands equally as well. I mean, there's very, very little that you can do to really keep him down for the course of a game.
Kobe goes straight to the dribble, in the lane, lay it up and in.
To him getting to 75 or so.
You're projecting, in other words. One, he has tied his career high. 103, 94, 62 for number 8. He's going to double his average tonight, and this is coming off of one of his worst shooting performances of the season. Crowd's on its feet for a career high for Kobe. And the beat goes on. Kobe with it now. Lakers lead 105-96. Another three. 67 points. A new career high and 4 away from Elgin Baylor's Laker record. For 3 again. Yes!
Well, there's 70.
Holy. 70 points for Kobe. 1 away from a Laker record. 111-96. Everybody wants it to get into Kobe's hands. Kobe guarded by Mo Peterson. Kobe pump fake for 2. Kobe's got the Laker record. Kobe down the middle, up and in.
He's got 74 with 2 free throws coming here. That's 75.
Game no longer in doubt. 116-102. Here's number 1. Do you believe it?
I don't even know if I believe it.
77. We'll just let you soak it in with the crowd. This one would be to Ty Wilt for number 2, and the next one would be to pass.
I mean, this says it all by itself. I mean, there's nothing that needs to be said about this game.
Ladies and gentlemen, you eat, including my partner, for the night at least. Bryant for 80.
Did I miss anything while I was gone?
Just another one in many.
Oh, okay.
And an 81 point for this crowd for number 8, Kobe Bryant.